Good evening, Miss Jo. Good evening, classmates. This is Noel B. Bonsata, and this is Group 1 reporting for outcome-based assessment. So, outcome-based assessment, it is a deliberate collection of evidence of student learning-based outcomes. It yields a mark relative to the outcomes rather than other students. So the basic idea of outcome-based assessment is that teachers need to be able to define the content for which their students can understand and use this key content for which they and their students will be able or responsible for learning. So other basic ideas of outcome-based assessment is that learning is student-centered. It helps students become more self-directed, effective learners. Students will be responsible for their learning. Students know exactly what they need to know and do learning activities that help them learn. So what this also means is that outcome-based assessment individualizes the students' learning, making them responsible for what they are to learn. With outcome-based assessment, students can determine their strengths and weaknesses and how to work on those weaknesses. Other characteristics of outcome-based assessment is that it individualizes learning. It shows steps for improvement, clarifies the learning outcomes, promotes student growth, and students take ownership for learning, and ends the reliance on the average students. Student learning outcomes. It is defined as what students are expected to know and be able to do. It varies according to the degree program. It is set by faculty members or experts in the degree program, and it's also selected by faculty members and instructors, and then approved by faculty and chair. So the levels of student learning outcomes varies within three levels, which is the basic, mid-range, and the advanced. So in the basic level, students are asked to define, list, memorize, identify, recall, classify, explain, restate, or review. This means that students can define key concepts, students can name major theorists, or students can recall facts. Within the mid-range level, students take the basic knowledge of what they learn and apply it. They can be asked to choose, demonstrate, illustrate, interpret, use, practice, analyze, differentiate, or experiment. So what this means is that students take basic knowledge, as I said earlier, and then students can critique research articles. Students can also employ statistical tests. Now in the advanced level, students are asked to compose, construct, create, develop, formulate, organize, assess, evaluate, defend, or predict. What this means is that students can be asked to synthesize what they already know. Students can design and carry out activities. Students can also evaluate projects. So it is important to learn student learning outcomes because it is to build student learning across the curriculum and also to select the appropriate assessment measurements. And that is all for my report. Now with the next report is is to be handled by Kim Arcaios.
Sources of expected student learning outcome. The institution mission statement is relevant source of student learning expectation. What are the sources of expected student learning outcome? The institution mission statement is relevant source of student learning expectation. Public schools refer to the public school system mission or state school charter as source of learning outcomes. Private schools are either sectarian or non-sectarian, and their mission may be sourced from their respective religious goals in the case of sectarian schools, or their founders' philosophy in the case of non-sectarian schools. Policies on competencies and standards issued by government education agencies such as DepEd, TESDA, CHED, Department of Education, TESDA, and Commission on Higher Education are prescribed sources of student learning outcomes. Expected competencies identified by different professions, business, and industry should be adopted to ensure that graduates are able to perform as expected in their respective workplaces and/or professions. The trust and development goals of the national government are a useful integration in the identified competencies and expectations from all sectors of education. International trends and development should be considered in identifying and determining student learning outcomes to ensure the graduates' competitiveness in the employment and professional practice abroad.
Characteristics of good learning outcome. So the first one is explicit. It is fully and clearly expressed or demonstrated. It is learning-centered. The third one, aligned with the degree program purpose. The fourth one, appropriate to the level of the degree offered. And the last one, the outcomes capture the learning associated with the requirements of the degree. Good learning outcomes, according to Drucker 1954, must be specific, clear, and definite terms describing expected abilities, knowledge, values, attitudes, and performance. And it should be measurable. It is feasible to get the data. Data are accurate and reliable issue can be assessed more than one way. The third one, it should be aggressive but attainable. Consider stretch targets to improve program, and it should be results oriented. Describe what standards are expected for student, and it should be the last one, time bound. Describe where you would like to be within a specific period of time, according to Drucker 1954. SMART: specific, measurable, aggressive but attainable, results oriented, time bound. That's all about our report. Thank you so much.